Hello, Internet. I hope you all had a happy Halloween. And today I am going to wrap up my October book bingo and see how many bingos I have. And that is how many books I can buy in this month, the month of November. And for the last week in October, the first book I read was Sisters Red by Jackson Pearce. And this one I solely did pick because it was a fairy tale retelling, and I really wanted to get at least one bingo. A mood reading wasn't going to get me a bingo because I didn't have any fairy tales on the docket. So I did look up fairy tale retellings, and this one seemed interesting. So this one is a retelling of specifically Little Red Riding Hood. It stars two sisters, Rosie and Scarlet. And when they were a child, a werewolf, they called them Fenrirs, but he's basically a werewolf. He comes in, he busts in the door, and he kills their grandmother. And then the book kind of goes like them now as young adults / teenagers. Rosie is still 16. And Scarlet has become very dedicated to killing Fenrirs. That is her life. That is her passion. She is physically scarred from the battle she had when she was 11? No, it was more than 11, right? I don't remember. No, it was 11. I think she's 18. Scarlett's 18. So anyway, she's physically scarred. She lost an eye. She has lots of other scars, and she is obsessed with killing them. And then Rosie, she is also a hunter, but mostly because that's what Scarlet wants her to be, and she feels like she owes her life. I mean, she does owe her life. Scarlet is the one that killed the werewolf that killed their grandmother, and if she hadn't done that, Rosie would have died. So she does owe her life to her sister, and so therefore she is also hunts werewolves, but it's not really where her passion is. There's also the huntsman character, who is basically the youngest son of the family down the street, who of woods people. I think they genuinely are just make things out of wood. He somehow got into the werewolf hunting business. I want to say his name is Silas. I'm going to call him Silas, and I apologize if his name is not Silas. So Rosie, Scarlet, and Silas, they kind of all are hunting down werewolves. The werewolf of Fenris. The Fenris population has been spiking recently, so they go to Atlanta to hunt them down. And that's basically the basis of the book. So the book was okay in of itself. I saw the twist coming a mile away, but that doesn't necessarily make me dock points. I did rate it 2 stars. It just got lower and lower, in my opinion, the more I thought about it after I finished it. Like, my initial read-through was just kind of like, oh, that's okay. But the more I thought about it, the less I liked. My voice is a bit tired today. I think it sounds different. If it doesn't sound different to you, that's fine. But yeah, it's so the main relationships in the story is between the two sisters, Scarlet and Rosie. Scarlet has built her whole identity around hunting werewolves, and also hunting werewolves specifically with Silas and Rosie, and protecting them. And so in the situation they find themselves in when they go to the big city, she is having a harder time hunting werewolves, because normally how they hunt werewolves is they would lure them out, because the werewolves, Fenrirs, are lured in by pretty women, and they would act all seductress. And she always had to be careful because of her scars and eye patch and stuff. But in the small town, they were so starved for pretty young girls to eat that it would usually work. But in the big city, that's harder. So she's struggling with that. And then also Rosie is beginning to explore things. She's beginning to develop this crush on Silas. Scarlet is feeling this disconnect between Rosie and her, and Rosie's kind of feeling it too. And I actually think they did a really good job dealing with people and how they deal with duty and the guilt. Because Scarlet's main argument is, since they know about the Fenrir and they're physically capable of doing it, it is their duty to kill them. And if they don't kill them, the girls who die, that is on their hands, essentially. And obviously they want to do good. Rosie doesn't want girls to die, but she's also interested in baking and boys, specifically Silas. You know, she wants to do more with her life than just hunt Fenrir. And Scarlet does not, and she doesn't want Rosie to do anything else with her life except hunt Fenrir with her. And that is actually the crux of my problem with the story, is Scarlet doesn't want her to do these things, and is basically guilt tripping her into doing it, because if you don't hunt werewolves, people will die, and that's your fault if you know how. And at the end, obviously, they are able to not obviously, but at the end they do reconcile, and they do kind of have that moment. But throughout the entire book, I guess Scarlett never gets called out for how manipulative she's been. And I do think she was being kind of manipulative. And the fact that they never really addressed that, they addressed the fact that Rosie is a different person, shouldn't be like Scarlett, can live a different life. But they don't address the fact that Scarlett was using feelings and emotions to keep Rosie there for so long. And the other reason I didn't like it so much is the relationship between Silas and Rosie was a little underdeveloped, and maybe there's an age gap. He's 21 and she's 16. And so like 5 years doesn't bother me a whole lot in relationships. In fact, they don't, except when they're as young as 16. So it's less to deal with the fact that there's a 5-year age gap and more to do with she's 16 and he's an adult. And it was a little ick for me. And the relationship itself felt so generic and not, I didn't sit there and go, yeah, no, these two have to be together. Like, so the fact that they were 16 and 21 bothered me enough, and there wasn't anything else going for it. And it's such an integral part of the book, their relationship. So the fact that relationship didn't work for me, and the fact that I didn't really like Scarlett and Rosie's relationship was extremely well done, but also I don't think some issues were addressed that I would have preferred if they were addressed. So that is why I rated it 2. We're just going to move on from there. The next book I finished was Dinosaur Planet Survivors. I actually read a physical copy. See, look, a physical book. And it looks a little beat up. That's because it was in a car crash with me. So it did. I got thrown around in some dirt and stuff. But I was able to finish this. I'd been reading it for a while. Essentially, there is a crew. So this is definitely sci-fi. It's by Anne McCaffrey, who's most well known for the Dragons of Pern series. So if you heard of that, same author. I haven't actually read the Dragons of Pern, but I've been meaning to. But I didn't find the Dragons of Pern, the first book, in the thrift store. I found this one, so this is the one I picked up. There is this crew. They're out on a new world. They were out like doing the research, like geological stuff, scanning, whatever, when part of the crew mutinies and the majority of the crew went into cyrosleep. And they wake up and they don't know how long it's been. They are trying to figure out what's happened in the time space from the mutiny until when they woke up. It's been 42 years, so the mutineers are mostly gone, and they now have descendants who have claims in the world or want to claim the world. And then there's like planet piracy going on where there are people colonizing planets that haven't been okayed yet by the FDA, the whatever federal planet people have approved of. I would love to say there's more, and there is more, but that is the crux of the plot for this one. I'm assuming there's other books, just the way it ended, not very much actually happened in the story, or in my opinion, not a whole lot happened. And so I'm just assuming that there's more books. I haven't looked it up. Just a second. Let me look that up. So apparently this is a book 2, and I didn't realize it. And so that might have explained a lot, actually. Yeah, so this is a sequel to Dinosaur Planet, I guess. And I guess the first book probably talked more about how I'm trying to figure out why there's dinosaurs from Earth on this random planet that they found. And just maybe I wouldn't have been as confused by all the, like, they have a decent sized crew, and none of them really felt that fleshed out to me. But if this is a book 2, maybe they were more fleshed out in the first book. Yeah, I just feel a little silly now for not realizing it was a book 2. But, like, I think I would have been even more disappointed if I read 2 books and that was how it ended. So it's just a lot doesn't happen, and it's resolved. Like, the characters don't do much to, like, they figure out a bit about, like, what has happened and why it's happening, but not enough of it. It kind of has a Deus Ex Machina ending, in my opinion. I enjoy dinosaurs, So it was fun to see them, and it was fun to see people exploring a world, though that was a relatively minor bit of it. It's just, it feels like a lot of things did kind of happen, but not really. And so, yeah, I gave it 3 stars. I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna do a 2.5 star because I'm just disappointed that's how the series ends. It's just because I'm going to guess in the first book they find the planet, they start settling on the planet. There was probably, and then the trying to figure out why there's dinosaurs on this planet was probably a much bigger part of the first book. And then to have they don't ever figure it out on themselves. Someone basically tells them why there's dinosaurs on the planet. And yeah, so we're moving that down to 2.5. I just picked it up from a thrift store, so I didn't realize it was book 2. I thought it was book 1. I realized I didn't really talk about the bingo board. I sort of did. Obviously, the Sisters Red goes on the retelling of a classic and fairy tale, so I can get 1 bingo. And then this one, it's not... For a second, I thought maybe, like, this is quite clearly old. It was in the 80s, so I thought maybe I could get away with it being 50 years or older, but it's only like 40 years older, so 80s was only 40 years ago. And so we're just going to shove this on a yellow cover. It's a fairly yellow cover, especially the back. So, I mean, it's kind of an orangey, brownish, yellowish color. I would call it yellow ochre, which technically is a brown, but we're going to put it there. So the last book I read is I Am Made of Death. And this stars a girl who, when she was a young child, basically got possessed by a demon. If anyone hears her talk, they get kind of like possessed and they feel like bugs are crawling in their sides and they go crazy and they usually die. She doesn't talk anymore. And so our hero, Thomas Walsh, see, I can remember names, gets hired to be her interpreter because she uses sign language to talk. And her name is Vivian, and she is trying to get rid of this demon, understandably, because it sucks not to be able to talk and to see a demon, like your reflection doing weird things when you look in the mirror. So she's trying to get rid of the demon through some questionable means in a questionable society, and Thomas is A, trying to figure out what the heck is happening, B, kind of falling in love with her, and C, determining to save her because he has a hero complex. I thought it was a good book. It is more horror-esque, we got occult stuff happening, and so it's not usually a genre I hang out with anyway, but from what I could tell, it was really well written. So I gave it 4 stars. Not really because I liked it well enough. It kept me interested and intrigued. I was plowing through. I wouldn't call it a favorite of mine personally, but it's well done, and it's something I would definitely recommend to people who enjoy that genre. The author, actually, this is a cool fact I found out. The author is actually deaf herself, so the sign language representation is fairly accurate, I'm assuming. She didn't do proper ASL. She wanted to represent her anger, because the author went deaf when she was like 4 and didn't have the resources necessary to like learn it, so it was a bit cobbled together. She said in the little afterwards that it was kind of a lot of her anger about that situation was in Vivian. I don't know what else to say about that one, and so I'm gonna stare at this bingo board and go, well, does she count as a non-human main character if she's possessed? She's still human. Does not take place during a holiday or in the future. I think it actually came out this year, so definitely not more than 50 years ago. It doesn't have vampires. It has demons. But unfortunately, it doesn't qualify for any of my remaining slots. I just thought it sounded cool when I read the description. So this is my complete bingo board. Books that I read that aren't on the bingo board, I'll throw those on the screen just so you can see all the books that I read in the month of November. As you can see, I only got 1 bingo, and that is the diagonal one. And I guess my lucky winners, I don't know if they're winners, but the ones that got me the bingo, we have Geek Girl, who apparently became a movie show / a movie or a TV show. We have a green cover. We actually have a lot of green covers, but the one that I put there was The Dark Window. One dark window, not The Dark Window. One Dark Window. And then for a book, we have The Return of Ellie Black. And then for a retelling of a classic or fairy tale, we have the Sisters Red. And then for a debut novel, we put The Daughter of a Moon Goddess. And so that is my one bingo. And then in November, I will now buy one book. I will share it with you guys. It's probably going to be a book I've already read because since I read most of my books from the library, I kind of like have been making a list as I go of books I would like to be in my personal library. So it's probably going to be one of those books, but I'll share it with you anyway. And I hope you enjoyed October's book bingo. I do plan on doing this in November. So next week you should be able to see that for the first week of November.